Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Rob, SOS Fragrance Reviews. 2022 is here, freezing outside. Before I do any new fragrance acquisition videos, I kind of wanted to recap what I think are or were some of my better purchases from 2021, plus fragrances I picked up that I failed to share with you guys. If you're interested in finding out what those were, stay tuned. I think first up, I want to start off with the fragrances I picked up last year that I did not share with you guys. First one is from the house of Dior, and this is Dior Sauvage Elixir. I actually copped this fragrance right when it dropped, and quick story about this one. I was exiting the mall, exiting a store, looking to leave the mall, and the exit was really close to the entrance to go into the mall, and the Dior display was right there. I made a beeline to it, and as soon as I got to the counter, the sales rep approached me, and she started on her spiel. I usually let them just talk, and I won't really interrupt. And one of the first things she mentioned was the fragrance was meant to be layered with the Parfum or the EDP, and I've never really heard anybody mention that in any videos. I just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, she sprayed the card, and I eventually, left that store, and I was parked on the opposite end of the mall, so I had to actually walk all the way through the mall to get back to my car. So as I'm walking, I'm smelling this card, and at first I just thought it was really, really like kind of brash. It was really spicy in the beginning, and as I'm walking and I'm smelling the card, it's changing. And really, by the time I exited the mall, I had made the determination I was going to pick the fragrance up. I didn't go back and get it that day, but I ordered it, I think a few days later. And I knew right away this was going to be a polarizing fragrance. I knew that, in my opinion, it felt like Dior had been listening to a lot of people, I guess, in regard to this fragrance, saying that it was maybe too brash, almost, I don't know, I don't want to say juvenile, but it was just like, it smelled good. A lot of people really liked it, but there was a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but there was a lot of criticism around the fragrance. And with this release, I really feel like they were kind of trying to meld the new with the old. And again, that's the reason why I thought it was going to be so polarizing. It's basically like this spicy lavender fragrance, and it's got like the DNA, of course, of the original, but that lavender that comes in kind of gives it that barbershop feel, and it's a merging of the two worlds, the old and the new. And I knew it was going to be polarizing, but I think it's a good release. I know a lot of the hardcore heads are going to totally not be able to give it a chance, and I understand why. But I would say if you get the opportunity, give it a sniff. You might be surprised, and you want to give it a little time to develop on your skin. But I think it's a quality release, and I'm cool having this in my collection. So, Sauvage Elixir from Dior. Another one that I couldn't recall if I had shared with you guys was from the house of Comme des Garçons, and this is Florental. This is, without getting too technical, if you are familiar with Lalique White, think Lalique White. You know how it has that, in my opinion, this like construction paper / notebook paper smell mixed with this pepper accord. Fresh. This fragrance is like that, but it's got like this muted plum note added. I mean, that's basically what the fragrance is. It's not this huge projecting fragrance, but it actually has nice sillage. This would be a nice fragrance for spring and summer. And it was a nice acquisition. Do you have to have it? I don't know if it's a must-have, but it's a solid acquisition for myself, and I'm happy to have it in the collection. And I would say if it check check out the fragrance, check the note breakdown. If it's something that might interest you, I would say try to get a sample, try to get your nose on it, and decide for yourself. But one from the house of Comme des Garçons, this is Florental. One I picked up from the house of Trussardi, this is Trussardi Uomo. And I believe this is from what's called the Laverio collection. This is an EDP concentration. I got up on this one via fellow reviewer Sam Brune. He kind of labeled this as a boss fragrance. And I have to agree, this is like a modern day fougere without lavender. Kind of smoothed out, kind of powdery. It's got like, I think it's got sage in it. I think it may have geranium in it. Leather, patchouli, and some other notes. Really well done. My son likes it. My son has worn this fragrance multiple times. If you think like a Grey Vetiver by Tom Ford, or if you think a Zaharoff signature, Pour Homme, kind of like that. It doesn't smell like either fragrance, but it's kind of like in that styling of fragrances, a masculine, a modern day masculine fragrance. That's what I would say, versus just saying it's a fougere. Of course it's a fougere, but I kind of look at a lot of fragrances that are coming out and being done. They're kind of modernizing that style of fragrance, and I'm seeing it more and more. And this is a really well done fragrance. I got it for like in the mid 60s. Fragrancebuy.ca, worth checking out. Trussardi Uomo. Next up is one from Novitas Parfums. This is a release from Bowtie Fragrance Guy, and one of his releases was Serenade Parfum. Parfum concentration, or I believe maybe an EDP concentration. Nice fragrance. I actually picked this up when I picked up Obey, but I never really talked about it much in the beginning. When I first got it, I felt like it needed more time to macerate. But since it's had time to macerate, I think it smells a lot better. It's got some really strong, dominant notes in it. Some of the notes are as follows. It's got cognac, it's got dark chocolate, beeswax, and honey. Those notes can be very dominant. So, you know, this is a sexy fragrance. Yeah, this is a nice one. When I picked it up, I want to say they had a special deal where if you bought 2 fragrances, you got them half off. So I want to say maybe I paid $100 for this fragrance, where I think regular price is probably, I don't know, between $165, $215, somewhere in that ballpark. But it performs well, projects well. It's a nice one. So I'm happy to have it in the collection, and I didn't get a chance to bring it to you guys when I picked it up last year. Serenade, Novitas Parfums. From the house of Dolce & Gabbana, this is Luminous Nights. This one is a little bit harder for us to get in the States. I want to say I picked this up from fragrancebuy.ca. It was about 90 something bucks. When I got it, I think I had to put my name on the waiting list, and then it finally came in. I got a quick pop-up email, and then I just went on and bought it right away. Like, as soon as it popped up, I clicked on the site, bought it right then. That way I didn't waste any time. Now, you know me, if you watch my videos, I'm not the biggest fan of the One series, but I do have almost all of the releases from this particular fragrance lineup. And I think it's solid. Is it a must-have? Can't say yet. I think it is a little brighter. I think, as the name implied, luminous. It's got like, I think it's got pink pepper. It's got dates, of course. It's got, it's a little brighter in the opening, and it's got this date accord that is not necessarily overly sweet. It's kind of right in the middle. It's kind of got some of the One DNA, but it has a slightly different feel to it. You know, if you are interested in checking this one out, I would say do your research, see if you can smell it some kind of way, and see if it's worth the purchase. I'll let you guys decide that. For me, I'm still partial to Mysterious Nights. I think that's my favorite release of the One releases, with a close second being like the One Gentleman. And then I think it's the EDP Intense. I think that those are like my likes. Then after that would be, I think, Gray, and then some of the other ones. But I know, that's different than what most people think. So Luminous Nights, the one Dolce & Gabbana. Big time sleeper acquisition from the house of Valentino Aqua. Wow. This is a really nice freshie, and I can't tell you how many times I looked at this fragrance as a possibility and passed on it. I kept passing on it, and then I think eventually the price was right from fragrancebuy.ca, and I finally pulled the trigger, and I'm really happy to have this one in the collection. In my last video, Alt Route, I kind of talked about ways to achieve freshness without the fragrance being overly citrus dominant or being a blue fragrance, and this is an example of that, in which they are kind of using the tomato leaf note to achieve freshness. And this is so well done, quality, classy. It's not like super different, but it's different enough. If you want to have something that kind of steps away from the blue or the overly citrus dominant fragrances, this would be a great option. Do your research. It's not expensive. You can get this one, I want to say, in the $60 range or less. It's worth the money. And I think at some point, this one might get discontinued. So this is probably the time to try to cop this fragrance. Again, from the house of Valentino Aqua. From the house of Nishane, this is Hasivat. Everybody talked about this fragrance so much. I had kind of been on the fence about picking it up, and I was, hemming and hawing over it, and then I finally just pulled the trigger and got it. Happy to have it in the collection, of course. This one kind of smells like Aventus, but it's more green. It's more mossy. It's not as smoky as Aventus. It doesn't have that like birch smoke feel to it. I mean, it's got a smokiness to it, but nothing like Aventus, nothing like the smoky batches of Aventus. It's really a lot more green and mossy, and it's a cool, I don't want to say interpretation, but like it's their version of this type of fragrance, and I think it's well done. Happy to have it in the collection. The prices were dropping on this one for the 1.7. I want to say it was probably like in the $119 range, something like that when I picked it up from fragrancebuy.ca. That's really like my new go-to spot for the gray market, but nice one. Hasibat, Nishane. All right, so those were the fragrances that I didn't really, let you guys know about, that I picked up throughout the course of the year. I'm gonna try to quickly run through the ones that I did pick up that I felt like were really great acquisitions and added something to my collection. First up, Dunhill, Egyptian Smoke. Had a video for this one. This is like the smoky rose, peppery rose. Well done. I kind of compared it to Promise. Like it's not as good as Promise by no way, shape, or form, but it's kind of in that wheelhouse. So, this is a way to get something that's kind of similar to that at a lower price point. I think it's a well done fragrance. I got a video on it, so if you're interested in getting like more detailed on this one, you can check that video out. But from the house of Dunhill, Egyptian Smoke. One of the ones I said was one of the better YouTuber releases, and this is Dreamwoods from Galleria Parfums. This was a really nice lavender, kind of like sandalwood, slightly fruity fragrance that I'm so happy to have in my collection, and I've been enjoying it. So, Galleria Parfums, Dreamwoods. Another really nice acquisition was Underground Edition from Red Brook Parfums, another fragrance put together by fellow YouTubers, and I really like having this in my collection. I've actually shared this with a few friends just so they can get a sense of what this one smells like. I really like the grapefruit in this. It's like a, how can I say it, maybe a little bit more fun, more playful version of Black Orchid from Tom Ford. It's kind of got some of that same type of vibe, the patchouli, kind of like chocolatey. Really nice one, but that grapefruit, I really love the grapefruit opening. That really caught me. with this one. This is one I'm really happy to have in my collection. Again, underground edition from Red Brook Parfums. I did a video on this one. This is from the house of Tiziani Terenzi. This is Spirito Florentino. Pretty much it's a kind of a take on Baccarat Rouge 540. Just, it's kind of got this really nice leather note added, which makes it, to me, a little bit more sexy, a little bit more masculine. This is definitely showstopper, making a great impression. You've got your best duds on going out. It's that type of fragrance. So I don't want to say it wasn't overly expensive. I mean, it's a niche fragrance. It's got a really nice bottle design and incredible top. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what I paid. I think it was in the low 100s, like 125, 130, somewhere in that ballpark. It wasn't ridiculous. So, I mean, for what you get, and like this one performs really well, it's a really nice fragrance and it's a showstopper. And it's worth having in the collection, in my opinion. Again, from the house of Tiziani Terenzi, Spirito Florentino. Two bangers from the house of Issey Miyagi. One is Polaris, and the other one is Noir Argent. Wow, these are really well done, great price point. Both for a little balsamic, where I feel like the Polaris is a little darker. It's kind of got this warm green, slightly smoky feel to it, where I feel like the Noir Argent is it's a little brighter. It's got like pink pepper in it, it's got balsam in it, it's got myrrh. It's not as smoky as Polaris, but they both have like this balsamic quality. Both are really well done. Both are great for nighttime wear. I would say if you do your research and the note breakdown seems like something that might interest you, don't take too much time to pull the trigger, because I really feel like these are two of the type of fragrances that might get discontinued. And I feel like once they get discontinued, they're going to be highly sought after and the prices are going to skyrocket. All right, so again, two from the house of Issey Miyagi, one Polaris, the other one is Noir Argent. And I believe these are both like EDP concentrations. The fragrance I reference is a Sexy Beast. This is from the house of Costume National. This is Soul. This is an incredible fragrance. Smell it for yourself. Do not listen to what anybody says that is negative or positive, but smell it for yourself. I really, really like this fragrance. It's really sexy. It's really like GQ, fashion forward, just on point. I mean, I really like this one. The only way I can describe it is to say, think of the best parts of Dior Homme Parfum, and then think of what one might say are the best parts of a Gucci Guilty Absolute, and kind of meld those together. Smell is not the same, but it kind of has the feel of those two fragrances melded together. You know, the Dior Homme Parfum is kind of classy, upscale, refined, but the Gucci Guilty Absolute is kind of rough and tumble, and it's kind of got all of those qualities mixed in, and I think it's just a really incredible fragrance. I really like having this one in my collection. So I wore this particular fragrance on my birthday last year on the 30th, and we rented out a movie theater and watched Halloween Kills, like me and all my cousins, and it was a really good time. And one of my cousins smelled this fragrance and was like, you know, man, that fragrance smells amazing. What is that? And he was my college roommate, and he's like a frag head too, but he's kind of gotten away from it. And I told him what it was, and then I got him a bottle of it for himself, and he loves it. He loves it. So this is just a really great fragrance. I'm so happy to have it in my collection from the house of Costume National. So here's one that was gifted to me by brother A2. This is from the house of Maizen Sur. The creator is Alberto Morales. This is Epine de Rose. Really nice, fresh rose fragrance. It's almost like green with the rose. But I really like this one. And I know a lot of guys don't like rose as a note, but this one is fresh and clean. and can be worn in springtime, and I think it would garner a lot of compliments. It's masculine, doesn't really smell like, I don't think rose is necessarily like gendered, but I know people tend to associate it with, you know, it being feminine, but the way this one is done, this is masculine. This would smell really great on most men. I think most guys would like it if you just give it an opportunity. Do your research. If this seems like something you might want to check out, I highly encourage you try to get a sample of this one. This is a nice one. I'm really happy to have this one. Again, this is from Maison Sur Epine de Rose. Last two fragrances are of the fresh and clean variety. First one from the house of Dolce & Gabbana. This is Dolce & Gabbana Forever Light Blue. This was one of my favorite freshie pickups of last year. This one is a combo of a really nice grapefruit opening that transitions into a blue fragrance. Blue fragrances aren't my favorite, but the way this one is done, I really enjoy it. I think it's a really nice fragrance. I actually enjoy it more than the Intense, where I think that is more of the fan favorite in FragCom, but I prefer this one over that one. I just think the grapefruit on this particular fragrance is so well done that this one wins. But both were good. Really like this one, and this is one of my favorite pickups of last year in regard to fresh fragrances. So again, from the house of Dolce & Gabbana, Light Blue Forever. Lastly was a freshie I picked up from the house of Xerjoff. This is Neo. A lot of heads in FragCom have had this one for years, and they already know about this one. For those that don't know, this is kind of a really authentic citrus based fragrance. A really nice freshie. The citrus is really tart, sharp, really well done, very authentic again. Nice bottle, Xerjoff, tops, metal. This is nice presentation all the way around from the box to this. It's typically a pricey fragrance, but actually the price on this one was coming down, and I want to say I got it in the lower $100 range, maybe $130, I think, to $150, somewhere in that ballpark is where I think I paid for it. I could be off, but so happy to have this in my collection, and it's really nice. And it's actually got some legs. It's not just a couple hours and it's gone citrus fragrance. This one this is a decent performer for sure, and I think it's worth it. So those are my pickups, man. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video and rocking with me throughout 2021 and coming back for 2022. If you've never subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to do so and hit that bell for notifications. Once again, thank you so much for coming back and checking the video. Until next time, peace.